Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Checkered Flags and Money Bags podcast. I am your host, Phil Craig. This week, we're going to do a preview of the Toyota Owners 400 from Richmond International Speedway Raceway. But first, let's go back and take a look at last week's results from COTA. Great week overall. Actually hit on well more than 50% of the picks. However, it did not hit the winner, which was the one downfall of the week. I went heavy on Bowman, who came through in the clutch for me with second top four finish in a row. I had picks on him for top 5, top 10, group bet, and a head-to-head over Cindric. So thank you, Bowman, for coming through and having a big week for me. Other ones we hit on, had Busher for a top 10, and then really hit on all the head-to-heads. We had Busher over Hamlin, Kyle Busch over Hamlin, and Chastain over Suarez, Bell over Truex. So overall, a 13% profit on the day. So we'll take that at the racetrack anytime. Wish we could have hit on the winner there with William Byron, who Olivia correctly picked once again. It's twice that she's had that one. But I really thought the Reddick was going to come out there and beat the field once again, but Byron obviously was the fastest all weekend. All right, moving on to Richmond this week. We have a 3/4 mile oval, which is the only track that is of this size on the circuit. So it's kind of a unique track, obviously. So they are bringing, this is the one thing that I was interested in finding out all week long, and finally heard yesterday that they are bringing the tire from Phoenix. After what we saw at Bristol with the tremendous fall off from that tire, I was really hoping they were bringing that one. But it is the tire from Phoenix, which was a little bit softer. It did wear a little bit, so anxious to see how well that is going to create some good racing here at Richmond, which in the past has not put on the greatest racing at times, and which is it sucks for me because it's one of my favorite tracks. Basically, that's what I wanted to say. So before I even looked at anything this week, I just thought Toyotas. JGR is just going to come out here and dominate this and walk away with it. And the books agreed with me because they had all 4 of the JGR cars as the 4 favorites. But then I actually got in and started doing a little bit of my research and found that it's actually been a pretty good mix of all 3 different manufacturers at this track as far as the success. In the Gen 7 car, which has been a total of 4 races, we've actually had Ford winning twice, and then 1 Chevy and 1 Toyota. So last year at this track, Larson took the checkered flag. He led 93 laps. Byron actually led the most laps with 117. Probably could have had a good shot at winning the race had he not got taken out by Bell on the restart, one of the late restarts there. Also in that race, we saw Hamlin laid quite a few laps, as well as Truex. Truex probably had a good shot at winning that race, as he was leading late before they had one of their final pit stops, and they had no tires. They had no sticker tires left, so they had to put on scuffs. Failed to tell Martin about it, and so that led to, as some of you might remember, the the interesting back and forth with him and his crew chief over the radio there late in the race. So let's see. Hamlin, like I said, led quite a few laps there last year, as he does every year at this track. And probably would have had a shot at the win if not for a pit road penalty there late in the race, which set him back to I believe a 20th place finish. Yeah, 20th place finish last year. Let's see what else we got here. So at this track, the practice and qualifying do not make a huge difference. That's why I did put all of my picks in this week before practice and qualifying. So in the last 2 races, only 3 of the starters in the top 10 actually finished in the top 10. So drivers can come from the back, middle pack, in the back, and get to the front in this race. They might not be able to do it by just straight up passing cars on the track, as we've seen that it is tough to pass with this short track package at Richmond. But using pit road strategy, you can get that track position and have a decent finish. So don't think that just because a guy is starting in the back that he has no shot at coming through the field and winning. I believe Barry started, Josh Berry, I believe, started 30th last year, maybe. I think that's correct. In his fill-in duty for Chase Elliott when he was injured, and was able to score a second place finish. I think he came in last year at this race. So you can come through the field with strategy. Actually, the highest starting winner in the next gen era has actually been Larson last year when he started 9th. The winner came from 13th two of the other times, and then Buescher last fall won from the 26th starting position. So, like I said, qualifying, not really a big determining factor on the finish for this race. So, with all of that being said, who do we vote, or who do we bet on, Phil? Because it sounds like it's just a crapshoot. But it's not actually true. We do have some drivers that have had a lot of good finishes here, a lot of consistency, and that starts with the first name that comes to mind when we think of Richmond, Denny Hamlin. 5 of the last 6 races here, he has finished in the top 5. That's some pretty solid consistency right there. Last year in this race, in the spring race, he got that pit road speeding penalty, I believe it was, and that cost him, set him back in the field, and he was relegated to a 20th place finish. But other than that, Denny is the one who has by far led the most laps at this track in recent years, and he'll be up there again tomorrow. Christopher Bell, since coming to JGR, his finishes at this track have been a 4th, 3rd, 6th, 2nd, 4th, and 20th. For this spring race, 4th, 6th, and 4th are his last 3 finishes. And like I said, they did bring the same tire that they had at Phoenix, and we know that he did win that race at Phoenix. And I think that Bell is my favorite to win the race this week. I just feel like that kid is really coming on. I think he's headed towards a season similar to what William Byron had last year. I think he can win 5-6 races. He's really got a lot of speed. Just needs to put it all together to get the wins. All right, another one of the JGR cars that will most likely be up there is Martin Truex Jr. In the last 10 races here at Richmond, he has finished in the top 10, 9 out of those 10 races. The only time he didn't was the 11th place finish that he had last year in this race. And like I said, that was due to him not having any sticker tires left at the end of that race. So 3 of the 4 JGR cars I do expect to see inside the top 10 at the end of this race, as long as they could stay out of trouble, stay out of the pit road, stay away from the pit road issues. And at least those 3 I expect to see up there. Gibbs being the other car, doesn't have a lot of experience here at this track in the Cup Series, but he did finish 9th in this race last year, so there is a possibility to see all 4 of these cars in the top 10 once again, as we saw at what race was it? Was it Phoenix, or maybe it was, no, Bristol, I believe it was. Yeah, Bristol, we saw all 4 of the JGR cars inside the top 10. And that's why I was thinking, a short track, a little bit longer than Bristol, but indeed a short track this week. I was expecting to see the JGR cars all in there. Another driver with a lot of success here at this track is Joey Logano. Top 10 in 7 of his last 9 races here. That's pretty solid. He has not had, last year was not a great season for him, not starting off the greatest this year, but this track is one that he will definitely be hoping to get back on track with, as he has had, like I said, a lot of success here with the top 10 finishes. He does have favorable odds with the books too. He is starting off 10th. So his odds did get knocked down a little bit, but still pretty good odds if you can find them. Look around through the different books, like I've said before. Okay, let's get to some Hendrick cars here. Obviously, Kyle Larson winning this race last year. His last 2 spring races here at this track have been a 5th place finish, and then obviously, yeah, the win last year. Other than those, he really hasn't had that great of finishes here at this track. Only 3 top 10s in his last 6 here, but those 2 top 5 finishes recently, and he is starting on the pole tomorrow, just narrowly beating out Chase Elliott. So if you're going to put Larson up front to start the race, good luck catching him. I mean, he's obviously one of the best drivers that we've seen in recent years, and he's got tons of speed. And so you put him out front to start, and it's going to be a tough day for the rest of the field. Alex Bowman, like I said, with the recent resurgence, a couple of top 4 finishes, has finished 8th in this race the last 2 years. And so another Hendrick car that has had success here. And then obviously let's get to William Byron. A 3rd place finish 2 years ago, and then obviously getting taken out by Bell last year. Towards the end of the race did not help him. He ended up finishing 24th in that race, but definitely was going to have a top 10 finish, probably a top 5. So those guys are all contenders, the ones that I feel are contenders for this race. Another guy, one last one that's had a lot of success, not so much as far as winning recently, but still getting in the top 10, Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch, I believe he is the most wins at this track among active drivers, which is the case at a lot of tracks. But 11 of the last 12 races at this track he has scored a top 10. Obviously, he is with a new team recently, with joining RCR last year, and I believe that was his only top race outside the top 10. Where is that one at? Yes, In this race last year, he finished 14th. That is his only finish outside the top 10 in the last 12 races at this track. So he has certainly had a lot of success here. And with that, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the bets that I like for this week. Sorry, I gotta get a little water here. Okay, like I said, I think Bell wins this race. The books think so too. His odds have gone up a little bit since qualifying. He did not have a good run at all. I believe he is starting 29th. So he's back there quite a ways. He's got a lot of work to do. Look for them to make some type of strategy to move him forward early on in this race if they are able to get a caution. Maybe they stay out while the rest of the field comes in to try to get that track position. But Bell, I'm certain, will be up near the front come the end of this race. Now what I want to talk to you about real quick here is a bet that I have only found available on Bet365, and what it is, and I should have looked this up before I did the podcast here. It's something that you find in horse racing quite often, not so much in auto racing. But if you go there to Bet365 and you go to put a bet on a driver to win, you'll see a little box there that says EW 1 through 4. Okay? And the EW, I believe, it doesn't stand for extra wager. I can't remember what it stands for. But it's E/W 1 through 4. And what that means is, say, for instance, okay, so let's take Larson. We got Larson at plus 900 at Bet365. You tap on that box. Let's say you want to put $1 on Larson to win. So you tap on that box. What it's going to do is it's going to double your bet. It's going to put another $1 on Larson to finish in the top 4. Okay? So the odds for that first $1 to win at plus 900, the second one, he can finish anywhere in the top 4, but what they do is they slash those odds so you would only get 1/4 of that winnings. So the 900 would get cut down to, let's see, so 225 plus 225, and that would be for each of those 4 positions. So if he finishes first, second, third, or fourth, your odds are plus 225 for that. So that's what I've done this week with Larson. I've taken that plus 900 on the extra bet as well. I also did that with Truex and Hamlin. Truex, you're getting plus 600 there at 365, and Hamlin plus 450 at 365. They know Hamlin's really good here, so you're not going to get good odds there. I think his odds may have gone up a little bit since qualifying as well, because he did not have a great qualifying effort. But just shop around and find the best that you can. Logano, I got him for a top 10. Like I said, I put my bets in before qualifying because I knew this one was a mistake. They gave me plus money at 365 for Logano. I got him at plus 120. I don't think you can find those odds now since he is starting inside the top 10. Bowman, also another one that I knew was a mistake. Plus 180 at ESPN for a top 10. You're not going to find any plus odds with him anymore with his qualifying effort. I believe he's in the second row. So if you're not getting your bets in before this podcast comes out, then you're not going to get those odds on Bowman. Okay, Austin Dillon. I did not talk about him in my stats there, but Austin Dillon has had some good runs here at this track, and for a plus 400 at a top 10 at bet 365, I went ahead and took that chance. Just as an outside shot, I like the odds. And so I took a shot at that one. I went back to the group betting again. I had some success last week with Bowman. I found another one this week that I liked with Bowman as well. You got a group with Chastain, Logano, and Wallace, and plus 450 over at DraftKings on that one. I'm sure that one has gone down quite a bit as well, but shop it around. I'm sure Bubba had a pretty good qualifying effort. Logano was also starting in the top 10, as well as Chastain, so that might still be right around the same odds. Maybe drop down a little bit. Like I said, I do like the JGR cars finishing in the top 10. Bell, Hamlin, and Truex all to finish inside the top 10. I would have liked a little bit higher odds with this one, but at plus 105 at Caesars. Caesars are the only ones that give out these type of bets that I can find. Usually they give out more variety of different things to bet on than anyone else. So I do like all three of those guys. I was hoping to get that around 150 to 200, but hey, we'll take it just to have a little fun. Okay, pretty heavy with the head-to-heads here this week. And after qualifying and seeing how well Elliott qualified, I probably would not have gone quite so heavy on fading him because he has not had the greatest results at this track in recent years, but and has not been running the greatest since his injury early last year. Skiing accident, but snowboarding, sorry. But anyway, let's go ahead and go through these. I like Bowman over Wallace, Larson over Byron, Chastain over Elliott. I believe he is starting one row behind him. Blaney over Buescher, Logano over Reddick, Bowman over Elliott, Larson over Buescher, Keselowski over Reddick, and Kyle Busch over Elliott as well. Most of those are slightly less than even odds, but with the head-to-heads, I don't mind going, minus 115, minus 120 on a lot of those. The only ones that were plus money were Bowman over Elliott and Busch over Elliott, and then Logano over Reddick was even money. A couple of drivers I wanted to talk about real quick that I failed to mention was the RFK drivers, Keselowski and Buescher. Keselowski used to be a driver who you would definitely want to bet on for a top 10 here at this track. Back when he ran for Penske, he had a lot of good results there. Obviously, with the rebuilding at RFK, hasn't come out of the box with the greatest results, but I believe he has had top 10 in the last two races, a 10th and a 6th in the last two races there at this track. So, and then Buescher winning last fall. So we know that they can get results at this track. We know that they are improving. So those guys definitely could be making their way up there into the top 10 by the end of this race as well. And so that is what I've got for this week at Richmond. Unfortunately, I do not have the little munchkin here to give us our pick of the week, her pick of the week, but I did speak to her a little while ago, and you will be shocked when I tell you that, I'm just kidding, no. She's picked Byron once again. Solid pick for this week. He is starting back in the pack quite a ways, did not have a great qualifying run, but I'm sure we'll see him up there near the front before it's all said and done. So good luck with your picks this weekend. Enjoy the race and go get that bag.